Welcome to TYT Sports. Ben Mankiewicz, Jason Rubin with you. We love Doug Baldwin here at TYT Sports because at the end of last season, Jank and I did a very reasonable conversation about how the Seahawks were winning despite the fact that they had substandard NFL wide receivers. We received a great deal of venom, hate, I believe you call it in the internet world, from people in Seattle claiming that Doug Baldwin's one of the best 10 receivers in the league. We're dissing Doug Baldwin. I believe Doug Baldwin responded. Yeah. And Doug Baldwin is the most ordinary receiver in the NFL. He's fine, might play 8 or 9 years. It's fine, works in that system. It's great. Yeah. Nobody game plans against Doug Baldwin. And everybody who says otherwise doesn't know anything about football. That's a fact. He's fine. Shouldn't release him.
Oh, no.
He's fine.
Agreed.
He's fine. He had a nice game. 6 balls, 108 yards. So Doug Baldwin has struck again with saying something puzzling. I like it, though. This makes me like Doug Baldwin. This is a positive Doug Baldwin.
Really happy you said that.
So here's the deal. So I think it was Bill Simmons over at Grantland who started talking about the idea of the no one believed in us team. Right. It's a team that says, you know, we're down, everybody's doubting us, the media's doubting us, the fans are doubting us. And usually that's not true. They just say it. But Doug Baldwin has now had the audacity to suggest that the Seahawks are the team that nobody believed in.
Everybody counted us out. Y'all didn't believe in us. A whole bunch of people thought we weren't gonna make it, right? We were 6-4. Oh, it's okay. They got a winning record, but they're not gonna go to the playoffs. Remember that? 16-0 at the first half. How many of y'all counted us out? How many of y'all doubted us? It's indicative of our entire season. Y'all don't want to believe in us, it's okay. You ain't got to believe in us because we're going to believe in ourselves. We ain't worried about y'all. We're worried about ourselves. When it was 16-0 at halftime, guess what we said? Don't trip. You don't win the game in the first half, you win the game in the second half. And what we do? We come out and we do what we do. We play Seahawks football. We got an opportunity to do what we love, and we'll see y'all in the Super Bowl.
I love this video. I absolutely love Doug Baldwin for this. And, you know, especially with so many players coming out in the media and not talking to them, this is exactly what you want to see. Now, I don't necessarily agree that nobody believed in the Seahawks, but there's no reason.
Everybody believed in the Seahawks.
Well,
literally everyone.
He did touch on the point that there was the midseason when they were 6-4 that this team is going to make it. I think we were some of those people who were thinking, I don't know, maybe with the Cardinals.
When you're 6-4, all you say is, wow, they've lost a lot of games. They have to start winning. Look, I picked the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. I never didn't pick the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. And I love a professional athlete. I love guys who went to Stanford. I can't remember the last time I heard a professional athlete use the word indicative.
God damn it, I was going to mention that. I was so happy to say
He's like rallying people up. It's indicative of our whole season.
It was great. It truly was. And so Doug Baldwin, you know, people believed in you guys. But if you believe that they didn't believe.
You're considered one of the greatest teams in the last 10 years, last year's Seahawks team. And now you've proven, now we got a 2-year thing. If you dominate and they played well the year before, if you play well next year, then you qualify certainly as a mini dynasty at a bare minimum.
Okay, so now.
Nobody believes in our dynasty.
We don't trip. We don't trip.
I really like Doug Baldwin. What I think is amazing about the Seahawks is that with the curse in Baldwin, with, you know, in an era of these dynamic big play receivers, they are succeeding without receivers that other teams have to game plan against.
Look at the receiving cores of the two teams in the Super Bowl this year.
That's right. Same with the Patriots. They both just have a lot of guys who don't drop balls and get it done. So clearly it's another way to go when you do a lot of other things well. And in the Patriots case, when you have an all-world quarterback, and the Seahawks case, when you have a quarterback who, I can't believe I'm about to say this, never makes a mistake, although he made a few yesterday. Well, but when it mattered, there he was, like a champion, like a leader.
We've seen a little bit of the same formula over the last 2 weeks of football in general. Ohio State had 4 turnovers in the national championship game and won.
Right.
And dominated. And Russell Wilson threw 4 interceptions.
It's not going to.
And they won.
So here, I think it's incredibly significant that the Packers just did not take advantage. No. And the Packers were incredibly tepid. And any kind of Packer aggressiveness would have won this game. Yeah. They just would have won.
I believe Aaron Rodgers, on a full, healthy 2 legs, would have won that game. And you could obviously see the pain that man was in, especially, I mentioned it yesterday on the run where he ran for the first down in the fourth quarter on that drive, the game-tying field goal drive. He got 5 yards downfield. The second he had to open up and try to run, he couldn't. He was hobbling to the sideline.
And it's not just that. It's, you know, he missed Jordy Nelson. The pass that he hits 99 times out of 100 for a touchdown.
Right.
But then you got to get on play calling to some extent. Sometimes they didn't execute, and there were definite instances where it was a lack of execution that didn't do it. But they had a couple of critical 3-and-outs at 19-7. They just seemed unwilling to throw the ball. And then on one occasion, by the time it was ready to throw the ball, it was 3rd and 16. I would still say you've got Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb.
And a one-armed Richard Sherman that's playing against Jordy Nelson.
Right, that's right. There's a good chance you might get that 16 yards. Like throw a little hitch to Jordy Nelson at 8. Let's see if Richard Sherman can bring him down with one arm.
Right. So why is that the most common thing I've heard is this Seahawks team is not as good as last year's Seahawks team. This Seahawks team is they're not playing as well as last year's Seahawks team. They're back in the Super Bowl. Obviously, they are as good as last year's Seahawks team, or they wouldn't be back in the Super Bowl.
No, that's not true. They set an incredible standard. They won 43-8 in the Super Bowl last year.
And they've also reached and are attempting to hit that standard
again. The eye
again.
test tells you that this team is not as scary. It doesn't. They weren't as dominating against Carolina. Look, if you replicate this game, find yourself down 16-0 to Aaron Rodgers, you do this 15 straight times, you're probably going to lose the next 15 games. But nobody believed in them.